Hello and welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Today is Tuesday, and it is How to Tarot Tuesday. It is a series that I do every Tuesday, and what I do is I pull one card from the 78 card tarot, and I pull 3 different tarot decks. And from that tarot deck, I pull the card that I think best represents the card that we're discussing. We do start with the Major Arcana, and then we're going to go into the Minor Arcana. Today we are studying card number 14, which is Temperance. Excuse me, I can't speak today. And so what we do is the beginning of the video is just a description of the symbols of the card. If you are familiar with tarot, and even if you are not, you don't have to be a novice to go over the details of it. It's just basically a fun kind of review of the symbols in the card, and it just helps us understand the card better. And it also, I'm going to go ahead and turn the light on. We've got some beautiful natural light today, so I'm trying to utilize that while, you know, the days are kind of short. But what we do is we talk about the symbols first, and then after we've gone over the meaning of the card, then I will go ahead and let you choose one of 3 tarot decks, or you could choose more than one deck if you feel like there are, you know, if the deck is, if you're drawn to it. And we'll go ahead and do a reading to say how that card is manifesting in your life right now. So today, the 3 decks that I chose, or the 3 temperances that I thought best represented this card, was the first deck will always be the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is the traditional cornerstone deck that all tarot readers, most tarot readers use. The second deck is the Tarot of Jane Austen. And the third deck is the Slow Tarot by Lacey, Bryant. And then later when I pull the spreads, I will be clarifying using a new deck that I have that's called the Quantum Oracle. So that's just an oracle deck that helps clarify, you know, your reading or how the card represents in your life. You can always skip straight to the reading by going to the timestamps are in the description box below, as are the names and authors of all of the decks. But by all means, if you want to go straight to the reading, go ahead. I noticed that going over the symbols is very helpful. I know the cards pretty well, and actually today's Temperance is a card that I understand pretty well, but it always surprises me how much I still get. You know, every single time I see it, I kind of get a new meaning out of it. What it is you see, to begin, you see an angel that is pouring liquid between 2 cups. The angel has kind of an enlightened look. You know, there's radiance around their head. The angel is very androgynous, similar to the high priestess, and she kind of has a circle around her forehead that's almost like a third eye opening. Typical descriptions, you know, do not describe what angel it is, like they don't give a name, but you do see that there are wings that are red, which mean action or motivation, and in the center of their cloak or their robe is a triangle, which is a Hebrew of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's kind of a Hebrew meaning. It's a tetragrammaton. It's a tetragrammaton, and it's basically an old you know, meaning of a very, very historical meaning in Hebrew and Greek that represents a higher power, like, you know, mind, body, and spirit. Now, you see at the angel's feet, the angel has 1 foot on land and 1 foot in a stream, and the water looks very calm. Next to the stream, you see some reeds, but you also see irises. And in the distance, walking away from the stream, you see a path up into the mountains and a very bright blazing sun. So definitely, you know, Temperance has a very mystical, it has a very spiritual aura to it. It definitely shows that there is a higher power. Now, typically, you know, the coloring of Rider-Waite-Smith is always debatable. but most renditions show that one cup has red fluid or red liquid and the other cup has blue. And that usually means divine masculine and divine feminine. I believe divine masculine is red and divine feminine's blue. I'm not 100%. But in traditional elements, red means fire, water, blue means water. And of course, fire and water can extinguish each other, right? So the fact that, the blending between the two really kind of means the blending of two elements. It is an alchemy. It is kind of like saying, if you, the yin, which is receptive, and the yang, which is active, it's kind of bringing together those two forces in a peaceful harmony. Also, the fact that you have a path that goes between mountains to a sun, it kind of means getting past your troubles. In Lenormand, mountains usually mean challenges or obstacles, and the fact that this path goes right in between, and it's almost like, again, you have that balance, you have that equal. Now, irises are also a Greek kind of reference, and the iris is a Greek nymph, I believe, or like a demigod goddess, who acts kind of like an echo of the god Mercury. She kind of sends messages from Zeus or from the higher power down to Earth. So again, here you have a second kind of floral representation of what seems like, temperance, here, I'm sorry, I'll circle back to that. I don't mean, there's so much, you can see there's so much meaning in the card. But having one foot on earth and having one foot in water. Earth is practicality. It typically means the pentacles. If you believe, in astrology, it means the earth signs, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, which is it's the practical world. It's the physical world. It's not blind emotion. It is what you can actually do in this physical plane. And then water is emotion. Water is that feeling. It's the Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. It's the deep emotion. It's kind of the emotional spirit of the situation. So the fact that, you have an angel, this higher power, melding two energies, and they have one foot on the land and one foot on earth, and then you've got messages from above. You have what seems like a message from, Zeus or the higher. It basically means it is the descent of spirit into matter. And I know that's such a heavy concept, and again, this is a major card, it's a major arcana, but the descent of spirit into matter, it's very comforting because it means that just like there's a balance in life, as an astrologer, it's funny, I always think of, you think earth signs and water signs are opposite to each other. If you're a Scorpio and a Taurus, you're the fixed earth, fixed water. And if you're a Pisces and a Virgo, you are the mutable water, mutable earth. And what it is you oppose each other. It's almost like a teeter-totter. Just like Justice or just like Libra, you kind of have two scales. But in this sense, it's not mental. It's physical and emotional, right? And you have this higher power that's gently blending those two elements. So what I always think of when I see temperance is I do think of that I almost think of it in an astrological view. When you have opposites, like Capricorn and Cancer, that's kind of like the mother and father. You have someone who is about nurturing and about raising a family and about making sure that the familial ties are good emotionally. But then the Capricorn side of it does the same thing, but he does it in a real world. He goes to work, he makes the money, he makes sure that his family is supported in that physical, practical way. So when you see temperance, it is almost like, and I always think of it this way too, astrologer hat on, whenever you're dealing with two opposite signs, anytime, and I won't even say that it's a conflict, but anytime, and especially in relationships too, good marriages are not 100% perfect. Good marriages or partnerships or friendships or any relationship, I always like to think it's an 80-20 split. You 80% have the same values. You have, if on the 80% or even the 75% side, you have the same religious beliefs, you have the same beliefs about money, you have the same beliefs about, spiritual goals, then you're going to agree with, you're going to be on the same page for that 70 or 80% side. Now, I always encourage, and they even show this when you're dating, like eHarmony quizzes, those things, they really encourage that at least 1/5 or 20% of your relationship be challenging, that you disagree, that you have opposite opinions, because what that does is it gives you that fire and water, right? It gives you those two opposite elements. You contribute to the other person's understanding. Your different opposite belief encourages the other person to see things from your side, or to not see things from your side. But basically what it is when you knock heads, when you start saying, no, I want to do it this way, and the other person's like, why do you want to do it that way? It's a way to, it is that difference. I always think of opposites as going to two opposite sides, or even squares. Like if you're an Aquarius and you're dealing with a Scorpio, what it is I always see it as one goal, and the Aquarius person is trying to come at that goal this way, and the Scorpio person's trying to come at this goal this way. But you both have the same goal, but you're just taking different approaches. Doesn't make either approach wrong. It just means that you're gonna loggerhead because you're coming at it. And it's the same thing when you're opposites, except when you're opposites, your goal is here, one person's coming at it this way, the other person's coming at it from the other direction. You're both gonna meet in the middle, but you're gonna have to compromise a little bit because you're both trying to do the same thing different ways. So I think of temperance when I see that. But the beautiful thing about temperance is that I see that it's always a comfort card, because it means that there is a middle ground to be found. It's kind of like both persons are trying to avoid conflict. You're both trying to avoid excess. There is a comfortable, middle position. And it's almost being divinely guided. That's the other thing, is that, just like when you have conflict, and not even bad conflict, but maybe you're just disagreeing with someone, and you kind of ask the universe, you're like, why is this so difficult? What can I do? I don't want to concede because I'm not wrong, but how do we make it equal? Right? It is, and with the 2 cups, and again, it's not justice. It's not like, you can just lay out the facts and say, okay, I win. That's more of an Aries Libra thing. This is definitely more of a Capricorn Cancer thing, or it's an Earth Water thing. And what I also think of is, it's about achieving equilibrium and bringing together the opposites. You're recognizing both sides of the equation, and you're respecting both sides. Now, what typically happens is when you see temperance, especially if it's surrounded by conflicting cards or cards of conflict, that's always a comforting thing to me, just because you know that you're gonna find peace, right? There's gonna be a recovery. There's gonna be, there's a lot of readers read temperance as recalibration. And it also can mean reconciliation. It means that whatever happened, there's going to be a peaceful and balanced solution. And it's almost going to be, I also kind of take comfort in the fact that that angel is there, because the angel is saying, this is going to be okay. The balance of this is going to come through, and it's going to honor both elements. It's going to honor the physical of this and the spiritual of this. And it's almost like, again, with those irises, it's almost like you're going to get that message is going to be like a download, that you're just going to know what to do, and everything's going to be okay. The fire and the water, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang will get balanced. Now, the second card that I went with for the Tarot of Jane Austen, I really think reiterates this point, because what it is, and this has a little bit of story. All the Jane Austen cards are based on Jane Austen books, and this one is based on Emma. And the book of Emma, on the right, you have the title character, Emma Woodhouse, and on the left, you have Jane Fairfax. And what it is Emma Woodhouse is an affluent woman. She's the daughter of a wealthy man, so she's always had it kind of good in her life. she's a little bit of a flirt and a socialite just because she can be, right? She doesn't have any restrictions. In that time, you almost had to kind of marry well, and she doesn't have to because, you know, her father has made it where she doesn't really have to work. She's okay, right? Now, Jane Fairfax on the left, these two characters have known each other since childhood. And what it is that, you know, Jane has grown up poor. She's not as wealthy as Emma. And it's funny, despite growing up with less than adequate means, you know, she had to become a governess. She was of a respectable upbringing, but she didn't have it as easy as Emma. And it was funny, as she was growing up, Emma kept getting compared to Jane, you know? And it was like, hey, you know, this young girl, she doesn't have a lot of money, but she holds herself in a good respect. Why don't you be like her? And Emma almost resented that. It was like that knee-jerk, you know, well, why do I have to be like someone else? You know, I want to be me. And so it's almost like that opposite of earth and water. You know, it's like, okay, the two are kind of going for the same goal. And as the two get older, they're both associated, you know, as they're dating, and courtship is a rocky thing, they both get associated to kind of the same man. Jane Fairfax is very quiet. She's very discreet about her relationships, as you had to be if you didn't, you know, you didn't jump out and announce an engagement. That was, you know, a scandalous thing then. But what it is that Emma, again, has kind of the more freedom to flirt. But, you know, and definitely in the story, she kind of shows her bloomers a few times with it. But Jane Fairfax never does that. But it doesn't mean that Jane had it easy. And what it was is that they were both connected through associations to Frank Churchill. And Frank Churchill is a little bit of a flirt himself. He's a little bit, and what it is Frank Churchill is secretly engaged to Jane Fairfax, but he's not able to make that public because it might affect an inheritance that he's due to get. So he starts flirting with Emma a little bit. And then later Emma realizes, okay, yeah, we're just friends, you know, I'm not engaged to you. But you don't realize how much, you know, grief that would have caused Jane. You know, this affluent woman who has more than her is kind of interested in her beau. She can't come out and say anything. So it causes an even further rift between the two women. And then later Emma, you know, ends up, you know, discovering who she really is in love with. She falls in love with George Knightley. And it's funny, you know, George Knightley is almost as calm as Jane is. It's almost like, you know, and then Frank Churchill is almost as kind of flighty as Emma is. So it is almost like opposites in the end, you know, Jane almost ends up paired with a male version of Emma and vice versa with, you know. But long story short, you know, these two characters end up with the men they're meant to be with, and in the end, even though they had all these comparisons between them, and you can see I really love this card because in the back there's a picture of an angel between them, right? And you have Jane putting out her hand, and again, Emma was always so apprehensive, didn't like being compared to this woman, even because she was so gracious and, you know, and in essence, you know, very socially more mature, even though she didn't have the affluence that Emma had, right? But they end up making peace, and they end up understanding each other. And I think the reason that Temperance speaks so vividly to me is because the angel knows what's going on, right? When you look at that angel, the angel knows something that you don't. You know, all of these little, you know, because the road of courtship is a rocky one for both of these women, even though they have their advantages and disadvantages. But the angel knew the whole time how it was supposed to end up. And the angel knew that there was really no beef between these two women. It was almost like circumstances were making them, you know, really kind of petty circumstances were making these two women dislike each other. And insecurity and all of those negative things. So it is almost like having, that's what I love about this card, is that ultimate, you know, that ultimate reconciliation, that ultimate peace came as it should have, almost from the beginning, because there were things going on behind the scenes. There were misunderstandings. There were lower drives that were making it where, you know, this balance could not occur. And it's like a synthesis. It's like, you know, when you finally get over your own humanness, you can come into that, you know, that balance. It's like it is bringing together of opposites, but it is like the piece that was ultimately meant to happen. It's preordained. And that's what that angel, that's why, you know, that angel's wings takes up practically the whole card, right? So that's why. Now, the other thing about it is that to touch on it real quick, the temperance can also mean a lot about health. Sometimes if you're having a health issue, it can mean about balancing that. You know, sometimes, you know, if, say for instance, you've got like, you know, like you've got stomach issues like GERD, you know, gastric esophageal reflux disease. What it is that can be balanced with diet. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you do not have to suffer. If you listen to the higher knowledge and just say, okay, yes, let me balance this. Let me, you know, not eat as, you know, spicy foods or not eat anything fried before 5 p.m. And it's the thing about temperance is sometimes it can seem a little bland, right? You know, it can seem a little bit like, whoa, why do I have to eat, you know, food that has no salt or pepper, you know? But you know that once you get healthy enough, you can go back to that lifestyle. So sometimes it can seem a little, you know, and again, the fact that this angel's a little androgynous, it can seem a little blah. It can seem a little bit dull, but it does mean that you are, you know, it's almost like it's prudence, it's modulation, it's everything in moderation. And you know, sometimes that can be seen as a little bit, you know, frugal. It's wise management of things. So that tends to be what it is. Now, speaking of wise management, we can go right into the third card. And I went with the Slow Tarot because I really love this. I've shown this card before, but what it is you have two twins, and they're both redheads. And what's interesting is, again, that parallel, two opposites with the same goal in between them, right? And here it almost looks like two halves, right? And you have a waiter who's very calmly and very perfectly pouring water into a teacup. Like, you can see, you know, these two people are served tea, and he's like, okay, he's kind of moderating. In the background, you see a broken window, and their hair looks a little tousled as if the wind is kind of blowing things around, right? But here, this guy's hair is perfectly coiffed, you know, not blowing in the wind. And it's almost like, it is almost kind of like you're creating your own drama, right? You're creating drama, and the universe knows better. The universe keeps things, you know, calm and peaceful, and, you know, you don't see his hand shaking. He's just pouring that right in. I often wonder if there is something in the reflection of this. I have to kind of study the card, but so yeah, it is. It's taking a balanced stance. It's taking a balanced stance and not letting things ruffle you is the other meaning of temperance. Now, when temperance manifests as a person, and that's where I really liked this card as well, is when temperance manifests as a person, it can be, I like to think of it, the temperance can be that person who's calm even though everything's falling apart. Have you ever known that type of person? Like, you know, maybe in your family, or, you know, when somebody's being drama, your cousin's being drama with your sister or whatever, and then all of a sudden, you know, your aunt comes in and she's just, you know, the picture of calm. Like, okay guys, just chill. You know, they come in and they don't let anything ruffle them. Now again, sometimes that can be viewed as being a real dull person, but when you think about it, this person, this temperance, this angel is refusing to engage, right? It's almost like they know better. They've been there, done that, know that, you know, why get your hair all tousled? Why let the wind blow you wherever it's gonna go? Why not control this, you know? Is it really necessary to, you know, kind of let things throw you, you know? You don't have to let anything throw you just because you disagree. And the other thing is, I feel like temperance is a strong card for our age, because when you think about it, there's so much drama. With our digital advances, you know, you can comment under a different name. You don't have to put your picture. It isn't one thing that you have to respect, and I know, you know, you have people talk about the differences between boomers and millennials and Gen X and all that. That's, you know, that's a pulp culture, you know, argument. But when you think about it, the boomer generation didn't have the luxury of hiding behind, you know, names on an internet screen, on a computer screen. If you disagreed with something, you put your name on it. You owned that opinion. You were face to face with someone, and you can agree to disagree. And that is one thing that I think of when I see temperance. Agree to disagree. Put your face on it. You can look at someone and say, I understand your point of view, but I respectfully disagree. And again, that's you coming, one person going towards a goal, another person going through the goal. And the beautiful thing about that, the temperance of it, is that between your two opinions, between the opinions of a boomer and the opinions of a millennial, you can come to a really good resolution. You can come to a good resolution, probably a better resolution than anyone could have thought of, because you've melded, you've mixed the two needed understandings of that problem or that situation. So, you know, when you think about it, if it's a person or a situation, you know, you might be establishing a good rapport or relationship with someone of a different, you know, opinion. It can be of a different culture. It can be someone who has just a different understanding. It can be that you are blending, you know, again, various ingredients into a harmonious mixture. It can also mean mending of old hurts as well. Again, temperance means that things are, it's the major arcana that can mean reconciliation. It can mean that things are going to come to a positive, happy medium. Now, it can mean, as when it manifests as a person, it can mean a good manager, someone who you know, moderates between people, who listens to both sides and finds the you know, helps people to agree. It can be, you know, it can be a spiritual healer. It can be someone who's a good cook or an alchemist, and again, a mediator. Now, the other thing is that temperance can also mean a lot, and in a modern sense, it can mean a lot about civil rights. It can be, you know, if you are bilingual or biracial, or if your goal, like if this came out as a belief, or, you know, it can be that you believe that people are equal. Or, you know, it can be, you know, equal rights for marriage. It can be, you know, same-sex relationships. It can be whatever it is. It just means that you know, all are equal. Everything has the same equal balance and equal integrity. So that's another really great meaning. Now, to go ahead and get into the negative, when you look at temperance in the reverse, it means extreme. Those two cups are upside down, and that water would be falling into the sky. You know, the foot is about to fall out of the balance. It's things not in sync. Now, reverse can mean that, you know, that someone is refusing to compromise, that someone, despite their own ego or their own stubbornness, will not put out their hand. It can also mean that, you know, it can be that you've been showing a lack of moderation in your life. A lot of times it can mean extreme appetites, like if you saw temperance in reverse next to the devil. That's a very laissez-faire kind of attitude, where it's like, oh, it's almost like you're purposely, you know, the universe is trying to get you balanced, but you're purposely throwing your weight the other direction and saying, no, you only live for today. Let me go ahead and, you know, even though I could make a peaceful resolution, let me throw my weight the other way. Let me get what I want. Let me make it imbalanced. And that tends, again, because it's a major and because it's an angel, that tends to have a little bit of karma. And karma, again, I've said it before, karma's not a scary thing. Karma is just the universe trying to get you to learn the lessons you're supposed to learn. And if you don't learn the lessons you're supposed to learn, sometimes the teachers get progressively tougher with you. Because if you're getting sent the nice teacher that's saying, okay, well, we're giving you this opportunity to put things on the level, and then you purposely don't take that opportunity for your own gain, the next day it's almost like saying, oh, okay, well, you know, I could make peace with this situation, but let me go ahead and, you know, let me throw it out of whack. Let me get what I want out of this. And, you know, and it can be an lecherous kind of way. You know, you say, oh, well, you only live for the moment, let's sleep together. And then the next day, oh, never mind. That is going to be an imbalance. You had an opportunity to make things right, and then you took advantage of it. Then the next day it's going to, you know, it's going to make it where almost, I wouldn't be surprised if you wouldn't see justice shortly after that. It's letting your, you know, it's letting your appetites run rampant, and it can have very disastrous results. It has a lot of karma. So it can be going overboard, it can be gluttony. In that same vein, it can be, you know, it's just kind of impropriety, usually from the clash of opposites. You know, it's usually, well, you know, it's extremes. You know, I want to do things my way. I'm going to throw my weight my way. And then it causes that imbalance. In a health perspective, it can mean, okay, I know, you know, just like we said earlier, I know that I have GERD, but I'm going to eat that fried chicken and I don't care. And then your health starts to spiral, even though in the beginning, you know, and again, I know it seems really dull. It's like, okay, well, if I had done the right thing, if I had eaten the bland fish with no salt on it, I wouldn't be hurting right now, right? You know, if I had just been, you know, if I had been the angel of balance, I wouldn't be in this situation. And that goes with relationships, it goes with pride, it goes with health. But it just basically means that, you know, your refusal to compromise causes problems. And that would be temperance in reverse. You know, you want to get it back into balance, and then you can always throw cards to say, okay, how can I get that temperance back? And again, you know, karma, it gets progressively harder to fix it once it's out of whack, but you know, it can still be done. All right, guys, well, I'm sorry, that was a longer expression, but temperance, you can see the majors are very intense. The majors are intense, and so, you know, but what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and freeze frame. I will let you choose from your different decks. Again, deck 1 is Rider-Waite-Smith with the Goldstone, Sunstone. The second deck is the Tarot of Jane Austen with my Opal. And the third deck is the Slow Tarot by Lacey, Bryant, and you have the Bloodstone, which is a really beautiful brown and kind of green stone. All right, I'll freeze and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. Let's go ahead and let's see, how does temperance manifest in your life? Deck number 1, Rider-Waite-Smith. Got the traditional angel of balance. Keep it balanced. We try to. I'm a Libra, I know all about that. All right, thank you. Temperance, thank you. Ooh, you got some majors. Got majors, guys. Holy crap. You have a whole Major Arcana spread, guys. I'm just gonna leave it at that because Hierophant on the bottom. Good gravy. Whew. Deck 1, you're a powerhouse. All right, let's go ahead and see. Thank you. All right. All right, guys, so deck number 1. So definitely, you're just, temperance right now in your life is, you are in a major phase of transformation. I wish I could even say that this was just 1 week of your life, not even close. You are in a phase right now, temperance in your life. In the past, you got the Moon, which is that feeling lost, feeling confused, everything's murky, you know, that water, that, you know, and you see the path through the mountains. That's almost the same path through the mountains that temperance has, right? There's water, It's almost like that water, it's almost the same scene, right? Or this water is on the other side of the mountain, huh? Right? It's like she walked through the path and went through, and this is the past. So what it is the moon is just very powerful emotions. In the past, you probably felt really lost. You probably had a lot of emotional things happen to you. You might have been in a time in your life where just you didn't know which way to go. You had a lot of fears. There was a lot of illusions. And what it is about the moon is that the moon, opposite to the sun, it's emotions. It's your sense of emotions, and the fact that you have emotions, you have water in Temperance. It just tells me that in the past you might have had a lot of confusing things. You know, the moon does not have a light of its own. It reflects the light of the sun. It's like a mirror. That's why they always say the moon is a mirror. But what it is, and you've seen it at night, you know, I always think of that scene in the old Disney Snow White, the very first Snow White movie, where when she first runs away, she runs out into the woods and she sees all these eyes, and you know, it's at night, so she can't make, you know, everything, she can't make out what's a threat and what's not. And that's what I'm kind of getting here, is that in the past you had a lot of insecurity, and you had a lot of illusions, and you were told a lot of things, and you weren't sure if all of them were true, and you basically just kind of had to find your way out of the woods by yourself, and it was very scary, it was very dark, and you didn't know what was a threat, what wasn't, and you kind of had to figure things out on your own. And that took a lot of balance. That emotional balance was not easy at all. Now the current situation is the Hanged Man, and we had a tarot on the Hanged Man not too long ago, if you want to pull that up and just kind of scrub through it. But the Hanged Man is that, again, he's hung upside down, he's seeing things from a new perspective, he's enlightened, right? And it's almost like, you know, just like in the Snow White scenario, it's almost like, you know, once the freak out was over and you were scared and didn't know where to go, you kind of collapsed on the ground and you kind of just said, okay, let me put an ear to the ground. What do I need to do? What's happening here? What is real? What's real, right? And that's what I kind of feel like. In the center, it's like you got a new perspective. You said, okay, this situation is not comfortable. You know, being afraid of everything, having no idea where to go, not being taught the right life goals, and me having to figure it out all by myself. This is not a good situation, but we're gonna start here. Let's start here. That's kind of what I feel like when I see the Hangman. Let me hang upside down and see where I'm at. Let me look at, and that takes a lot of courage, by the way, guys. It is. It's like looking in the darkness and trying not to be afraid and figuring out, okay, I'm right here. Where do I need to go? And the future, guys, is holy Toledo. I'm just, again, you're a powerhouse. You're a powerhouse. You got the Fool and you got Death. And I just had a tarot. Fool was the very first How to Tarot I ever did, and the Death I did just the last week. And that was a crazy powerful description. But it is you saying, okay, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I've looked at my circumstance. I've looked at my circumstance, and I'm coming to terms with where I am at. I'm coming to terms. We're gonna start this off on a balanced keel. And what you are doing, and wow, guys, you're just gonna let anything that needs to die, die. And then you're gonna start afresh with a brand new perspective and trust in the universe that everything's gonna be okay. And yeah, there's not much more I can say to that, guys. I'm in awe. I'm quite in awe. This is an all Major Arcana spread, guys. I think honestly that's probably the first time that I've ever pulled all majors, and those cards are extremely well shuffled. It isn't like they're not in order in any way, shape, form. So I'm feeling a strength emanating from the center of my chest, from the solar plexus right now, that you have been through some stuff. And your definition of temperance, and that's the other thing, is remember how we said sometimes temperance can seem kind of dull? Those people who walk in the room who just don't let anything faze them. The reason they don't let anything faze them is because they've been through this. And it's led them to this. Let's just let, you know, and again, we're in 2020, we're in January. I know a lot of people spout those resolutions. Everyone's doing it. This is my decade. I'm gonna, no more crap. But if anybody can ring true to that resolution, I think it's gonna be you, because you're letting, whatever has to end is gonna end. Whatever needs to begin is gonna begin. And the Oracle card that you got, and this is the Quantum Oracle, and this is awesome. It has, I'm gonna have to do an unboxing because this is just a cool deck, but you got your messages increase. Increase, and it's cycle 3. I don't know if the number 3 means something to you. In purple, which is the crown chakra, but it means that you are on your way to better things. You're on your way to better things. You are in a growth stage, and the fact that these two cards, the where you're going, it was death at the bottom, a fool at the top. So it's almost again like the lotus flower. It's like your roots were in loss. You probably had to let go of a lot of things. You probably, and letting go of that, when you let something decay and fall away, those nutrients will go into your roots and help you become that new beginning that you need to. And you have an incredible faith in the universe. You're not going to live in fear anymore. You're going to go with the flow, and you're going to see where it takes you. But deck number 1, Holy Toledo, that's your Temperance. And good gravy, that's a Temperance for you. Oh, wow, that was crazy powerful, y'all. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put your card there. You put your card on top. Oh, look at that, it makes a nice little frame. Check it out. Sorry, gotta throw my Libra aesthetics into everything. Don't mind me. All right, deck number 2. Let's go ahead, and you got the Jane Austen Tarot. So that is really a beautiful image. And honestly, shamefully, I just got the book that describes this. At first, I thought that was Harriet, but it turns out that it's Jane Fairfax, and that's almost all the better. Like, it's so cool. All right, I'll get to shushing. So deck number 2, how does temperance manifest in your life? So temperance, how does that manifest in your life? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Ooh. Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Coins has been making an appearance in a lot of spreads lately, you guys. I don't know if it's a collective energy or if I'm just tuning into someone in particular. But future, thank you. Ooh, okay. 313. Okay. Let's go ahead. And Ace of Candlesticks, Ace of Cups. All right, Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups really want to come out. And you have an ace in the middle. You have 3 aces. So what is our advice? What is our advice? Okay, what is our advice? Okay, this is sticking out. You can see it. So I'm going with the one that's sticking out. The vast universe. All right. All right, guys. So what I'm seeing is in the past position, you got the Lady of Coins, which is Eleanor Dashwood, which I knew before I even read the book, yay me. You got the 3 of Quills, and then which is the 3 of Swords. And then you got the Strength underneath. And what it is that in the past, it's almost like you've had to be strong. The root of this, and it's like root situation where you're at, is that you had to be strong because of some kind of separation and loss and just pain. You probably got news or communication, and there was just some kind of situation, probably love, but there's a lot of pentacles here too, so it could be like financial, or you know, the loss of a relationship for financial reasons. But it caused you to have to be very practical. Eleanor Dashwood in the story she was the one who really put practical concerns over her heart, and that was incredibly hard to do. That took strength. It took so much strength, because what it required is you know, it's almost like you have to do what's right for you, even though it breaks your own heart. And so in the past, I definitely see that there was either some kind of heartbreak, or, you know, there was just some kind of fact of life. And again, you know, with Temperance, and especially in this story, remember how we said it was a lot of misunderstanding. You know, the angel kind of knew what was going on, but the two women didn't. They were in the thick of, you know, and the fact that this Temperance was definitely relationship related, as all Jane Austen is, but you know, they had, when it comes to affairs of the heart, it's hard to keep a practical face when you're hurting, you know, that, and again, with Temperance being emotion and real world, you don't want to wear your heart on your sleeve. You don't want to break out crying because something happened that really hurt you, and you might not, you know, again, that angel knows something that you don't. So in the past, you had to be real strong about some kind of separation, some kind of heartbreaking situation that really made you have to be practical. It made you bunker down. The other thing is that you may have had to do what was right for you, right? Sometimes those situations, it's like, okay, as much as you want to do for others, sometimes you have to do for you. And that's the other part of Temperance, is that it isn't balance for the other person, it's balance for you too, right? It's moderation between the two feelings. And when you think of cups, you think of emotions. So your emotions are important too. It's not just, you know, you get the crappy end of the stick. Now, the current situation is the Ace of Coins, and that is a seed. That's a seed, and it being right under Temperance, and let me tell you, the Ace of Teacups and the Ace of Candlesticks wanted to come out. Those are three aces, guys. That's physical, the seed of a physical, it's the seed of action, and spiritual, it's the seed of emotion. And it's self-worth too. So I do think that right now, there is some kind of opportunity for balance with this person, with this situation. And again, it can be I'm really getting a vibe, it's a person, the fact that it's strength with two people on it, man and female. And you can be a man or a woman watching this reading, however it resonates. It can be same-sex relationship too, but basically there's some kind of strength that you've had to have, even though you were apart or away from something. You kept your practicality about you. And now in the physical world, you're getting an opportunity to recalibrate, to make this situation balanced. And again, three aces, guys, three aces. Now, the future of this, or where it's going, is going to be a little bit, you know, again, and the fact that it's always a comfort to see Temperance, because that angel is there. Just always remember, whatever we're about to look at here, that angel is there. And remember, in this card, it was the angel knew the circumstances. The circumstances from the women's perspective looked pretty bleak and pretty convoluted. But the angel knows, or the spirit knows, what's going on. And there was a lot of miscommunication. And there was also pride and lower energies involved. So the root of the situation moving forward is the five of Teacups, which is the Five of Cups, which is guilt and remorse. There's something that occurred. Again, you know, somebody is feeling guilty, or like things didn't go the way that they should have. And it definitely can be from someone's, as a result of someone's actions. Remember how we talked about Temperance in reverse. But someone's feeling guilty about that. And someone's definitely kind of mourning over that. There was something didn't go as planned, and that really caused a lot of problems. It caused a lot of problems, and it caused a lot of heartache. Now, the current situation, you got Judgment. And Judgment is that calling. And you see all these people are looking up to the sky, right? Everyone's looking up to the sky, and it's a joyous event. But basically, Judgment is the calling to what you are meant to do. It's a calling to the right thing, what you're supposed to do, what your calling in life. And the other thing about Judgment, and the fact that anytime I see Judgment and Temperance in a spread, it means I definitely get more of a resurrection kind of vibe here. And in these two cards, you see the wedding of Emma, and, you know, Emma on the other side. So I'm not saying that there's any weddings involved here, but I'm just saying that whenever I see Temperance, even Rider-Waite-Smith with Judgment, I really get, that definitely speaks to me of recalibration. A lot of Jane Austen stories, people have a close call where they start courting someone else again. You know, Emma was looking at Frank Churchill, but Frank Churchill was in a silent engagement to Jane Fairfax, and then later she realizes that she's really supposed to be with Knightley. Those are kind of it's kind of the round and round. And the fact that, you know, normally judgment, you see people coming out from coffins, that kind of means that what you thought was dead and done has the opportunity to be revitalized, to find a balance. It's almost like you can turn, you can't undo what was done, but things need to be put back on the right course. The recalibration needs to happen. Now, the only thing is, the one thing about this is that the crowning of the future is the Nine of Quills. And that is that anxiety card. That's the not able to sleep, up in your head, feeling really, you know, torn. Now, it could be that because this Five of Teacups, this guilt and this calling, you know, it could be causing you a lot of anxiety. Either that or something, I'm really getting a vibe of something that you're going to learn. Something in this offer of something new is just making you anxiety ridden. It's making you afraid. It's almost like, okay, how this balancing, this recalibration, this reconciliation, this coming back to life, or this calling towards, after all of this grief, you know, it's going to keep you a little bit awake at night. And again, you know, I'm really leaning on the fact that these two women didn't have all the facts. They were kind of, they had to do what they had to do in order to, you know, keep their cards close to their chest. They couldn't show everything that was going on. So therefore, a higher power had to kind of, you know, pull the strings in between, balance those two cups. But something in this situation, it's very joyous. I mean, it's a good calling, but there's going to be a lot of thought about it. And I think it almost might be kind of a forgiving and forgetting, and the fact that this is the opportunity of something new. It's almost like, okay, you know, I think there would be a decision. The other thing that I'm getting from that is just that this Temperance might be the angel calling to you. You have a calling that's saying you're meant to make this right. You're meant to make this right. Make it right. You've been feeling guilty. You're probably seeing a lot of symbols too. There's probably something nagging at you that's like, make it right, balance it. Balance it. But the problem is, it's keeping you awake at night. It's almost like you're thinking of this, going, I got to do this, I got to do this, how am I going to do this? But that angel's not letting up. The universe is going to continue. And the fact that you got the card that says the vast universe, again, I do think that you're probably getting a few things, and it's not to say you're haunted, it's not like that, but again, Temperance means that you have the opportunity, and it would go very smoothly. The universe would have your back, and it would probably, if you did have the potential of any karma, this is your opportunity to get it level. But also, the Nine of Quills is, it's normally not as scary as you think it is. A lot of this is known to be the nightmare card, but don't be afraid by that. It just means that you're probably a little bit more anxiety ridden. And remember, Temperance is that beautiful, it's that peaceful balance, right? It's that peaceful balance. The universe is gonna, if you put forth the effort to do what you're being called to do, the universe is gonna make it easy on you. They're gonna help you. You're gonna have help. And that's the comforting thing about that angel being there. The angel's there. The higher energies are there. So do your best. Just do your best. If you do go forward with this, don't agonize over it. Just listen to the messages, follow the signs, and just, you know, try not to feel too guilty, because I do think that these two cards are very associated. There's some kind of guilt here. So, but Spirit has your back. Temperance is there. So, all right, guys, so that's deck number 2. That was a really quite beautiful read, and that's a pretty card, guys. That's really, that's, again, I love Temperance. It's a very comforting card, you know. With all the cards that we can read, you know, there's some scary ones, but Temperance is very peaceful. All right, so last deck, home stretch. Last deck we got Temperance from the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. And we got Your Bloodstone. And it's so pretty. The lighting doesn't do it justice. The sun's setting, and actually here, let me go ahead. Well, yeah. We will keep the window open until the very last drop of sunlight goes away. You know, I like winter. I like it kind of on the cool side. I don't like the blazing hot of summer, but I do miss, the seasonal effects of disorder gets to me. The days are so short, and if I sleep in, oh my gosh, it's just all over. All right. Let me just see. So, Temperance. How does deck 3, how does Temperance manifest for you right now? Deck 3, how does, thank you. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just getting a vibe here. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. Got a lot of relationship stuff going on. Okay. But let's go ahead and get into it. So deck number 3. So in the past, the Temperance is, you might have had a situation where, first off, I really like the 7 of Cups, but here we go. We have cups hanging from trees and the person looking up. 7 of Cups is having a lot of choices. You have a lot of different, in the past it was kind of like it was like a 7-way fork in the road, and you had different paths inside of each of these teacups, different things. You got an apple, you got a snake. And again, just like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, you kind of, you got a key and birds. You have different choices, and you're not sure which path. And again, cups are emotions. It's like, okay, what path do I go down to that's going to bring me all of the fulfillment, all the meaning in life that you want? Because that's, when it comes down to happiness, happiness in life is doing the things that you want to do, achieving the goals that you want to, having meaning in your life. And if you do the things that you want to do, but the scary part about that is that that's a path. Deciding what you want to do, deciding where you want to go, deciding who you want to go on that path with, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and it's intimidating, it's scary. Now, sometimes it can be exciting, and again, the cards around it kind of say. Now, the 6 of Coins is that give and take kind of card, right? And what it is you see she has the scales, and in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, it's somebody who's dressed very affluently, and he's giving back. And usually that means that it could have been that maybe in the past you didn't have as much money and now you do. Either that, or the other thing that I kind of see that it's 6 of Coins is very interpretable, is that sometimes it can be giving just enough. Right? Sometimes when you have a choice of 7 different paths and you're not sure which path to go down, and especially if this involves people, sometimes you can be like, do I want to go down? Do I want to pursue the relationship with you? I'm not so sure. Let me just kind of throw a little affection your way. Maybe we, go out for coffee once, but then, oh, I'm not so sure. It can be a little bit of a leading on card. Now, the other side of it is it can be the paying back of things. Sometimes the 6 of Coins being the root of the situation is that you have a path in front of you, but you still have a few things from the past that you need to pay back before you can really give the 7 Cups your full attention. So that's another meaning. Again, please don't take it personally. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong, for the actions that you take. It just means that you're kind of held back, and it's a state of limbo. It's a state of limbo, and it can be because that you still have financial obligations from the past, or it could be that, or it can be honestly, when you look at it, it's a little bit like breadcrumbs. Sometimes you can be saying, oh, well, I'm not sure where I want to go, but let me continue to feed or, you know, fuel this situation until I make up my mind, but you're not making up your mind. And then the other side of that is, you know, maybe it is just a timing thing where you were coming up on the 7-way split, but you're finishing up, you know, you're paying off those debts that, you know, are the last thing before you can move forward. And so you are about to reach the mouth, you know, the fork in the road. And that was in the past position. So present position, right underneath the Temperance, is you've got the 7 of Wands. And the 7 of the Wands is the definitely holding your ground card. Here it's someone who's climbing up a ladder, and it's one of those rope ladders. And if you've ever done like an obstacle course, or if you've ever watched those adventure games on TV, you know how rickety those things are. They twist, they flip, they can throw you right off. One of the sticks can break, and you can see he's not a child, but he's not an adult. And look at him, he's got this look like, oh gosh, I just got to keep on going. I got to keep on going, right? And I think this is a very neat interpretation. That's one of the images that I really want to analyze when I get into this deck, because that's a neat interpretation of the 7 of Wands. But basically it's like you're going to keep on going. You're going to climb that ladder, try not to flip, try not to get thrown off, you know, and try not to fall if one of those sticks break. You know, it's almost like you're trying to keep on going. You're trying to keep the momentum. And honestly, when you look at the sky's so orange and red and kind of burnished colors. It's not quite that sunny sky of the victory like in the sun, but it's got a lot of passion. It's got a lot of energy behind it. It's almost a little bit of an angry sky, but I'm just feeling, I feel the energy off that card. But that's the feeling that I get, is almost, it's a little bit of anxiety, like, okay, I have to keep on going. And he's rapidly climbing, and you don't know what's going to happen next. The stick could break, the ladder could flip. And then what you see here is you have the 8 of Coins, which is somebody who's putting in, and what I think is so neat is it's a stained glass window, and he's putting in, you see a family at the bottom, you know, dog, child, who's putting the last, you know, holding the last pane of stained glass, and this person, and what it is it's the phases of transformation, it's the phases of a butterfly, and he's almost done. So the 8 of Coins is working on something. It's working hard at something. It's honing a craft, or again, and you go from 7 to 8, right? You go 6, 7, 8, and oh, and check it out, guys. Look, it's 7, 7. So it's like 6, 7, 7, 8. And underneath that honing of the craft, you got the 2 of Pentacles. And I really do. I love this deck, but she's kind of holding 2 coins, and she's kind of like, bathtub's overflowing. Should I use these coins to fix my plumbing, or, you know, what can I do, you know? It's almost as if, and the fact that you have the 8 of Coins in between is, I really get this feeling like half of this apprehension or this balancing is you're trying to stay ahead, and you have a lot of anxiety about that. You're working really hard to hone that craft, to keep that going, to keep those goals on track. And then you do have other fiscal worries. You might have home improvement that's pressing, or, you know, just other, you know, I definitely know that feeling. Anytime it's like, okay, next paycheck, you know, do I pay off the Christmas bills, or do I fix my car? You know, it's like, what fire do I have to stomp first? And it does, it just it keeps you on that obstacle course. It keeps you going, going, going. So I'm really getting the Temperance in this situation is that you want to pick. It's not that you don't want to pick the cup. You want to pick a cup. I feel like it's almost like you're almost a little frustrated that you're not further along, is the vibe I'm getting. But you're preoccupied. You're preoccupied, and this really does kind of feel like a work thing or just a life thing, that whatever has brought you all of this abundance, all this material wealth, you want to keep that ball rolling again. And in traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, Two of Pentacles is juggling. So you got to keep those balls in the air, but you really would like to be on a path towards a goal. You really are. And I do get the feeling like at work or in your financial life, you're making great strides, but you still have things that you have to pay off. And the fact that this is on the level here, you know, balancing, I really do think that there's probably things that you want to go forward to, but you've got a lot, you're doing what I call plate spinning. You've got a lot of plates that you have to keep going, whether that's in work, with your finances, with bills that you have to pay, and it's almost like you're deciding, okay, yes, I want all these goals, but I can't do them all at once. Now, as we move forward, you know, it's funny, this has been, the cups are emotions, and the fact that he's got teacups here, the temperance is actually pouring into cups, right? As you move forward, this is pretty darn interesting, because I'm definitely straight up relationship vibe. And let me say, this is the first time with this deck that I've gotten both counterparts for King and Queen right next to each other. And you got one of my favorite cards. But the first one, you know, the crown of this is the King of Cups. And he kind of looks like Jimmy Buffett in this deck. But you know, he's got that, you know, kind of island, you know, he's a little bit of a fun character. But the King of Cups he tends to be that he's that emotionally mature man. He's the good father and husband type. And what it is it's someone who's just, you know, who's got emotional fulfillment. He's happy, you know, and usually he tends to be a married person or someone who has a good emotional commitment to him. Now underneath, and again, these came between these two characters, this came between, is the Four of Swords. And this deck is absolutely gorgeous. Four of Swords is that impasse, it's that stopping to rest. You can see this woman, and she's got this tattered cloth that has what looks like stars, but it's really holes poked by the swords. And she's got civilizations in the distance, but she's got all this broken concrete around her. She's got to walk over all of that to get where she's going. And you see growth, you know, it's almost like, you know, after destruction, there's new growth, right? But it's almost like she's got to rest. She's got to rest. You can almost feel the blazing sun. She's got to rest. And and again, the fact that the king is crowning this, it's like you want to get to that. You want to get to that, but you're almost kind of exhausted. You almost have to kind of pause. This journey, this obstacle course has kind of made you need to pause, you know. You got a lot going on. You're learning a lot. You're growing a lot. Now, between the King and Queen, you know, and again, the other side of the Four of Swords is the Queen of Cups. So these two are counterparts. These two are husband and wife, you know, and that doesn't have to be literal, but they're counterparts. And in between them is this break, this resting period. So this could mean that there's a pause in a relationship or an impasse. It could mean that two people are on the same emotional level, but, you know, before they can continue, there's got to be like kind of a rest and a recuperation. But the very root, so out of the root of all of this is you got the Ace of Cups. And definitely, you know, if you see the Ace of Cups on its own, that can be personal self-worth. But when you see it at the root of the King and Queen of Cups, and you got Temperance, and the fact that you don't see the only cups that you see in the past are a choice, you know, what path I'm going to take. And, you know, and again, this is kind of a couple on the working on it. I really think that as part of your goals, you're gonna, in the future, you're gonna make some kind of concerted effort to balance out a relationship that is really, really perfect for you. And you can be a man or a woman watching this, but you have a counterpart, and you know it's your counterpart. You know you're meant to be together. You absolutely know it in your heart of hearts. And you know, that is your goal. That's one of your goals. It's something that you've been wanting to work towards, you know? The other thing is that the King and Queen, these two people are adults. You know, they're committed adults, people who have responsibilities. These two people are adults, but in the middle, you might have been kind of feeling like you just weren't ready. You're still doing, you know, the preteen obstacle course. But again, the fact that there's the Four of Swords in between, it's almost like this is an agenda. This is on the agenda. This is like the ultimate goal of where you want to go. And again, cups, cups, cups. This is such, if this Four of Swords was not in between these two people, you know, if that moment of rest and pause was not there, it's like, you know, boom, this new beginning would be already done happening, you know. But that's where you're headed though, so that's kind of the future. And definitely these two people are very emotionally mature, and that's the other thing that's so nice about this, because remember, he's pouring water into a teacup. These two people are emotionally mature. So if this is some kind of reconciliation or some kind of recalibration of a relationship between two people, and it could be a separation, it could be someone that you had a relationship with and that you're rekindling, but you know, you've definitely, I feel like both of you have rested, both of you have taken the pause that you needed to, and the fact that swords are thoughts. So, you know, you come to the place where you've healed and you know what you want. You know what you want. Now, the only other thing is that when it comes to emotions, both of these people are very nurturing. They're deep in the feels, but they're emotionally mature about it though. So that's such a good sign. And the fact that, you know, to only have swords is kind of a scary suit, but to have the four, which is healing, it's almost like the healing between these two people. And that's really lovely, guys. That's really lovely. So I really think that the temperance right now is you working either on a marriage or a committed relationship that you know is going to be long-term for you, and it's one of your goals. You've just been, you know, you've had a lot going on. But all right, so deck number 3, that is temperance. That is how it manifests in your life right now. Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't pull your card real quick. I'm slacking, guys. Sorry. That was a powerful read. Oh, thank you. Intention, discovery. Okay. And again, you know, what did we say we had? Did we have the discovery? You know, the fact that you have coins. But yeah, discovery, I mean, you know, intention, you know, the fact that this is intention. I think what that's telling you is that you really, maybe, you know, maybe you've only had a few committed relationships in the past, or maybe this is also, you know, again, when you decide to pursue something and kind of, and you know that it has the potential of being serious, it is very intimidating. So maybe in this, you know, in this goal, you know, you have a strong intention, right? You have a strong intention. Your goal is to build this up and to make this strong, to make this good. And you are in just the beginning stages of it, but the maturity that you have and the fact that you would, you know, pause and think and heal and, you know, or make the intention to heal this. I think you're almost approaching this relationship as a new something. You're treating it the right way. Instead of being afraid, you're treating it like an adventure, and you're treating it as something new to be discovered. And I think that's a beautiful way for temperance to manifest, because it's, again, it's kind of that higher guidance where you're not in your human, you're not in your lower human drives. But all right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching. So that's How to Tarot, and what I'm doing this month is you're going to see kind of a post a day, but the posts that you'll see daily are not very long. I'm participating in what I call the 31 Days of Tarot. It's held, sorry for the noise, I'm going to close the window, but it's held by another reader named Ethany, and what we do is we answer one question about tarot every day throughout all of January, and we've had some really great questions so far, so I hope you can join me for that. It's the real quick reads. Some of them are just, you know, less than 10 minutes if you get a chance to catch them. If not, I am still doing my weekly energy card readings, so that comes out just the next 7 days worth of energy, and that'll be out on Saturday. And if not, I'll catch you next week for the next How to Tarot. See you then. Bye.